Eupod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/Eupod Street, and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code Eupod Street at checkout, and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold, because it's on to Eupod Street. All right, welcome to Eupod Street, Season 2, Episode 1. This is normally where I would sit here and tell you all about my week, but of course it's been way more than a week since we've had the show, and we've had major changes to the show. First of all, the fact that you can see that I am not here by myself. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. Jack Bain. Jack, on a scale of 1 to 10, or actually, let's do this. 1 to Team Venezuela every single play. How excited are you to be on the pod?
You know, I hope that one day I can match the same energy that Team Venezuela emulates on a game-to-game basis. But no, man, I'm absolutely stoked to be here. Like I said on Twitter, stoked. I've been listening to you for the last year, and just excited to be here.
Well, it's gonna definitely, I think it's gonna take some work off of me, which is really the reason why you're here, is to make me not work so hard.
Hey,
But I think what's good is, for those of you who read Jack's intro, Jack has a background in baseball. He just graduated from McDaniel College, where he had 4 years on the baseball team. And for those of you who have listened to me, you know that I'm not a big stats guy. I'm much more of a vibes guy. I go based on how my gut feels about things. What Jack tends to do is Jack is much more of a stats guy. So when I say like, oh, I really like this guy, he's like, well, let's look him up. Let's look at his stats and see if that holds true. So I think that's going to create a really good banter here between the two of us, where we can kind of balance each other out, of both having kind of the fan vibes side of things, and then also having the statistics, the raw data side of things. And I think it's going to make for a really good show. And so I think with that, I think we got to get right into it, because we have a full list of things to talk about, because we've got, several months to catch up on here. So big things first. Let's talk about the Orioles edition for the off season. Jack, I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about our first player that we have listed here.
Yeah, so probably the big marquee signing of the offseason was Kyle Gibson. Signed him for 1 year, $10 million. He was in Philadelphia on that World Series team last year. He went 10-8 with just over a 5 ERA. It was like 30 starts or something, and he didn't quite get to one win above his replacement. But it's not negative, so there's one thing. I remember Kyle Gibson playing in Minnesota, and just thinking about how much I hated watching him pitch. Every time like he would come and toe the rubber, it just felt like it was like his neck had to be hurting every start. I think that when you hear the Kyle Gibson signing, you're like there's so many more pitchers on the market at that point in the season, or at that point in the off season of where we were. Go ahead.
I think the big thing with Kyle Gibson, and we all kind of saw it, the writing on the wall as soon as he was signed, is that this is the new Jordan Lyles. Because I think he actually had more innings pitched this past season than Jordan Lyles had.
Yeah.
And he's an experienced guy. I think his career ERA is just a couple points under Jordan Lyles. So theoretically, he's like the new and slightly improved Jordan Lyles. But it wasn't soon after that they announced that they were not re-signing Jordan Lyles for the next season. Overall, what would you grade the transaction? With A through F.
At his price point, $10 million is a lot for an innings eater,
But it's probably the guy you're going to see the most during the year.
Yeah, it's true. And please ignore the dog. Really sorry about that one.
It's okay. You've probably heard my dog running back and forth.
Yeah. So the Phillies actually did not pick up any of the money that he was owed last year. It was all paid by the Rangers. And the most that he made in one season was $10.6 million. That was the 2020 season. So I feel like this is overpaid just a little bit. I mean, he's 35 years old. Career ERA at 4.5. I give it a D plus. Like, it's just.
I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C, and here's why. I think, they filled a hole with a guy that they decided not to sign, and they didn't get worse from it. I don't feel like. I don't think they got better, but I don't think they got worse. And I think your innings eater is going to be so important this year. I mean, Lyles was important last year. I think this year with Grayson Rodriguez is going to make his debut. He's going to be on some sort of limitation. They're saying DL Hall is probably not ready for the rotation come the beginning of the year. I want to do a segment at some point, by the way, about our potential starters and bullpen and whatnot. That's for a show down the road. But DL Hall's not ready. He's not going to be stretched out enough for the start of the year. Kremer is still young, and he's pitching competitively right now. We're going to talk about that with the World Baseball Classic, but he's going to probably have some limitations. John Means is coming back from Tommy John midway through the season.
Yeah,
he's going to have some limitations. So I think overall you didn't get worse, and I think it was valuable to get a guy that you can just get a lot of innings out of.
Yeah, I think so the Royals signed Lyles through the 2024 season at 2 years, $17 million. I don't know
Slightly
if
cheaper
when I don't know if when the Orioles were talking to Lyles that was like his deal breaker was that second year. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, like, Lyles had a better season last year than Gibson.
He did. I think there's a lot of discussions that go on in the Orioles analytics department, though.
It's true.
That they saw. I think they saw something with Kyle Gibson that made them go, "We want this guy." I mean, it was the same thing when they picked up Austin Voth last year, who had like an 11 ERA with the Nationals to start the season, and they pulled him in. They said, "Hey, if you throw your slider more, you're going to be more successful." And sure enough, he had the best ERA on the team while he was playing with the Orioles. So that's a gut feeling. That's a gut take right there. First gut take of Eupod Street is that I think that the analytics department probably saw something they really, really liked with Kyle Gibson and said, we prefer him over Jordan Lyles.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, hey, throw Kyle Gibson in Oriole Park at Camden Yards, maybe the ERA goes down a few ticks.
Yeah, especially with Lord Baltimore out there.
Exactly.
All right, who we got next?
Adam Frazier.
All right, your face is kind of reading how you feel about this.
Just why? 1 year, $8 million. 2022, he had a 238 batting average, 3 bombs, 42 runs batted in, over 156 games.
Yeah, so the power is not there.
No. And it's not going to be there in Oriole Park at Camden Yards.
No. I think for the Orioles, this was a cheaper version of Rougned Odor, who they did not sign. And let's face it, Odor was just there last year for the vibes.
Yeah.
And I think the difference between Frazier and Odor for me is I think Frazier's ceiling is a lot higher right now than Odor's is. I think his bottom is where Odor's is. I think he can be really, really bad. but I also think him at his best is better than where Odor is at
That's
his
true.
best. So I
That's true. I
think
mean,
it
we
was a cheap
we
signing, a veteran signing, someone who was on a team last year. He was on the Mariners last year who made a playoff push, so he has recent playoff experience. He had some clutch hits in that playoff run too. And that was kind of Odor's most value, was that he had clutch hitting, and
yeah
Adam Frazier has some clutch hitting as well. Um, but where, like, kind of what you said of like why we have so many
yeah.
guys on the infield, both already at the major league level and coming up from the minors, that it's like, did you need to make this signing?
I mean, after watching, I mean, the signing was before spring training.
Yeah.
Of course, you need take a risk, whatever. But this spring training, I mean, Norby's raking. Ortiz is, he still needs more at bats, but he's gonna get there.
Westberg is raking.
Westberg's raking. All these young guys are proving that they can hit major league pitching. I know it's spring training, but I mean, there's a point where it's like, give the young guys a shot. Adam Frazier's not gonna win you games.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
yeah,
he's
he is
not
better
known
than
for his glove
Odor.
either. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing
Yeah.
that when they're talking about the potential infield lineup, okay, if you keep Jorge Mateo at short, move Gunnar to third, what do you do with Ramon Urias? Well, Ramon just won a Gold Glove.
Mm-hmm.
He can play second base. Maybe you move him to second base, but then what do you do with Taron Vavra? It's a good problem to have for the Orioles, where they have so many guys to play that you start going like, well, okay, if you move him there, where do you move that guy? But it is kind of weird that you move Frazier into that mix when you already have too many guys.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think he's probably due for some uptick. I mean, last year 106, but like he had a great 2021 in Pittsburgh, batted 324 with them, and then he got traded to the Padres halfway through. 2022 was his first down year in his whole career. So I mean, if he can stay healthy, man, and just I don't know, there's definitely some upside, but there's also, why take the at bats away from the younger guys.
All right, so what's your grade?
C minus, C.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was gonna say D plus or C
Yeah.
minus, right around there. I don't love it, but it's not bad enough where I'm going, what is this?
Yeah.
I my hope is that it's not like a Chris Owings situation
Good Lord.
last year, where it's just like, why are we even paying this guy?
Yeah.
That's a very low bar, but
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't turn into that type of offseason signing, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. I'm excited about this one, actually.
Yeah. James McCann, I don't hate it. And the only reason that I do not hate it is that the Orioles are not on the hook for a lot of that money.
19 of 24 million is being paid by the Mets. Is that right?
Yes. So the Mets signed James McCann to a 4-year, $40 million contract. He's got 2 years left on it. The Mets, part of whatever deal that went down with that is that the Mets are going to pay $19 million of the remaining $24 million. That's fine. I think for a backup catcher, $5 million.
$5 million and 2 years.
Yeah.
Of veteran experience. I think, kind of like what I said about Frazier and Odor, I kind of think about McCann and Chirinos, where I think McCann's ceiling right now is a lot higher than Chirinos's was, and his basement is probably kind of the same, but he has a lot of potential to get back up where he was in his prime. So I like him a lot more as a backup catcher than I like Chirinos as a backup catcher.
Yeah, I think at the very least you get a better defender than Chirinos.
And what
I
do,
mean,
do you remember what was Chirinos's contract, how much we were paying him? I think it was more than
Trinos,
5 million.
yeah, I think it was around. It was 1 year, or whatever, but it was definitely more than 5.
Yeah.
Definitely more than
Um,
5.
and James McCann again, kind of going back to some of the positives with Frazier on a team that did really well last year, made a playoff run. And that's going to be important experience for the Orioles. And especially, McCann's been in the league a little bit longer. I think one of the things that drove me nuts with the Orioles last year is towards the, August, September time, it seemed like they ran out of steam. And I think some of these veteran guys who have been in playoff pushes before, the nice thing is that they can really help coach the other guys to be like, this is how you keep that momentum going, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, McCann's played in the postseason. He was there last year. He only got one at bat, but he was there. He was also in that 2020 shortened postseason with the White Sox.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, McCann he's gonna catch the baseball. He's most certainly gonna receive those pitches at the very least.
Well, I think that was the biggest thing too, is his blocking defense was a lot better than Chirinos's was.
Yeah.
So that's going to help out too when he has to play. All right.
And he doesn't get run on that much. Runners were 8 for 29 in stealing bases last year.
That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all.
No, it's not horrible.
All right. What's your grade?
B.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I think it's just average.
It's a solid pickup, but it doesn't excite me.
No. Yeah. I think that's all that we need to give to James McCann.
Yeah. That's all that should be expected of him.
Yeah.
All right. Next one.
Michael Givens. I like it. I like
Another
it.
Met.
1 year, $5 million with a mutual option for 2024. Last year he was 7-3 with a 3.38 ERA. I like it.
I don't think there's a lot to complain about there. I mean, he's a familiar face. He was a fan favorite when he was here because he was one of the few bright spots of the Orioles while he was here. I think he's shown that he's not necessarily a closer, but he's a really, really good setup guy. And when I look at that back end of the bullpen, when I look at, who's setting up Bautista, well, last year was Dylan Tate, who was really good. If you have some sort of combination, whether it's Givens, Tate, Bautista, or Tate, Givens, Bautista, I think that's a great 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Sino Perez, who was setting up Tate, you move him to the 6th inning. Like, I think that just really shores up what was already a pretty good bullpen.
Yeah, I think that, he's not a high velocity arm. But I know bullpens these days are pretty much all high velocity. But he's got a weird arm slot. I mean, it's coming at you basically starting in the right batter's box. I think it'll be a good contrast against Perez, Bautista, Tate. Yeah, I mean, he's a serviceable reliever.
Now here's a question for you. I saw him down in spring training. He's had 2 appearances so far in spring training, and in 2 appearances he has 3 balks.
I did see that,
and he's one of those pitchers. I think it's because of his delivery that with the new pitch clock and everything like that, they're saying that his normal delivery is a balk, and he's had to change that. And 3 balks in 2 appearances. Are you at all nervous about that?
I mean, you're playing the sport professionally. You need to make the adjustment. You're getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play this sport. I think that he is well refined enough in his craft that he will be able to make the change and be fine.
Well, it's better that it's happening in spring than it is in September. So
yeah,
hopefully he works it out now. Now here's the other question. Was Michael Givens or was he not arrested in Florida?
I mean, you know, I saw a picture on Twitter. I can't remember who put it up there, but a police report. He was on a police report.
And it's no doubt that it was. I mean, it was spelled exactly the same way. Mychal,
Yeah.
Givens. I mean, it's this. Who else spells their name like that?
So he divorced his wife in November of 2022.
And I remember reading that she had accusations of abuse from him that he denied. And I don't think anything came out of that.
Let's
And
see.
then it was something like what the police report that someone posted on Twitter said something about like just criminal misconduct or something like that. And it was very unclear. Like, is this something to be worried about? Because the Orioles haven't talked about it at all. He made his first appearance in spring training like 3 days later. So I don't know what's going on.
I'm on florida.arrest.org. Let's see. I mean, like, you can't get arrested.
No, that's just bad.
You just can't do it.
That's just bad all around. Well,
all right, we'll circle back.
Yeah, we gotta deep dive this. If there's any detectives out there who can give us some insight, let us know what's happening without the possible arrest. Let's put that away for now because I think
we'll circle back. I mean,
what's your grade on this one?
B+. Pending arrest.
Yeah, I'd say B+ as well. I think that really shores up the bullpen. Especially with Tate coming back from injury, Bautista coming back from injury, you need to have a solid bullpen, and Michael Givens is a veteran guy who can help with that. All right, last one on our list.
This might go as the best offseason acquisition in my opinion. Cole Irvin. We got him in a trade with the Oakland A's. It was Cole Irvin and right-handed pitcher Kyle Verbitsky for Darrell Hernandez. I like it, man. Cole Irvin in Oakland last year was good. He was a good starter for them. Granted, he was playing in Oakland, so take that as you will. But last year he was 9-13 with a 3.98 ERA. You got to look at those kind of base stats and think that if he's on a ball club not named the Oakland Athletics, that his win-loss total is different. Even though it doesn't matter, it's still good to have a positive win-loss. 3.98 ERA. Oakland's a huge ballpark, huge gaps. You got who they have out there? The Braves prospect.
Not a lot of memorable names, that's for sure.
Christian Pache with bricks on his feet, running around in center field. Ramon Laureano, who has done nothing but use steroids and get worse at baseball. I think on the Orioles, he's going to be a lot better. 2.1 wins above replacement. He's got a career ERA of 4.4. Again, he's been on the A's for a long time. I don't know.
Here's my thing with the deal is we traded our 5th best shortstop prospect, not our 5th best prospect, our 5th best shortstop prospect. So that means there's Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, 2 other guys, and then there was Darrell Hernandez. We traded him for a starting major league pitcher as well as a minor leaguer. Yeah, I don't know how you get a better trade than that.
No, yeah. And I mean, we have so much depth, we just got to trade from it. I know a lot of Orioles fans are like, we can't trade from the farm, like just let the farm ride out, but like we need to trade from our depth.
Well, that's also the whole point of what Elias has been doing all along. Get just a giant pool of as many good prospects as possible. And if there's a guy that you look at and go like, there's no way he's going to make it in this organization,
Yeah.
trade him to get better pieces for the team. I mean, it's just I get the sentimental value. I get like, we read names like Norby and Ortiz and stuff
Yeah.
like that all the time. And people are like, oh, I really, really like this guy. But the whole point of getting all these guys is that you can also use them for trade chips
Of
and
course.
get even better guys on the team.
Yeah. I mean, we have to be ready for the fact that a Connor Norby or a Joey Ortiz might not be in the organization at the end of the year.
Yeah. And I think I want to do one right before the season where we throw out names of potential prospects and we
Yeah.
say big leaguer or trade prospect. And
Yeah.
we just sit down and really look at who are you keeping, who are you trading, because I think it's to that point with the Orioles with a lot of these guys.
I mean, you got to think like our untouchables, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez. And I think that's it.
Jackson Holiday.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we might need to dive into that one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
He's 19 years old.
He's 19 years old, but he's still raking. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on. I know there's some other little acquisitions we had. The Lewin Diaz
having a great
saga
spring
alone of being DFA'd and traded and brought back what seems like a million times is hilarious.
He's having a great spring, man.
Oh, he's doing great in spring. You know what? Who knew that financial uncertainty had so many perks to just motivate you to be a better ball player?
Yeah.
But I think we got to move on here. We're already 26 minutes in, so let's move on here to some off-season stuff. First of all, the Orioles brought back the Birdland Caravan. They did not bring back FanFest. Let it be known, I want FanFest. But they did bring back the Birdland Caravan. I was not able to go to any events, but Jack, I know you went to a couple. Wow, what was your experience like on the Caravan?
Yeah, so I went to one of the autograph signings at Frederick Community College. This is all on Saturday too. I got Grayson Rodriguez and Nick Vespi, and over the last year, me and Nick Vespi, the resemblance. He's become one of my favorite players on the Orioles.
Friend of the show, Nick Vespi, by the way, follows Eupod Street on Twitter. Friend of the show, Nick Vespi.
We'll have to get him on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I was out there. It's just, I think just being that close to the players, and when you see them at the ballpark, they're working, like they're doing a job, they're locked in. And I think seeing them in an atmosphere where, they can just kind of buoy it with everybody, I think it's just a really cool experience. So I got to get Grayson and Vespi's autograph. Autographs are, they're cool. They're cool. Mm-hmm. I paid $50 for it, a little steep, whatever.
Orioles, it's not like what people were paying for the Top Golf experience. That was what, like $300 a person to play Top Golf with the Orioles.
Yeah, you won't catch me there. But yeah, so and then another cool thing, Orioles emailed me about a week before the signings happened, and they were like, "Hey, do you want the DL Hall and Brandon Hyde one for free for being a Birdland member?" And I was like, "Sure." So that was cool, really cool for the Orioles to do that. And Saturday night, I was able to get down to Checker Spot Brewery in South Baltimore. Now,
my neck of the woods.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of my favorite Orioles experiences ever.
I saw so many videos being taken from there, people getting handed beers by like DL Hall and Grayson Rodriguez, and of course there's that great one of Hall, Rodriguez, and Adley chugging contests, and people were chugging with them, and it looked, I'm so mad. I considered taking off work to go to that because I knew it was a free event, and it's literally 2 blocks from my house, and I was like, I should do that, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I can justify taking off work for like a little pub thing with the Orioles, and I regret it so much for not going.
I mean, that was the atmosphere. It was the boys are going to the bar. That was the atmosphere. I mean, aside from, so I waited outside for an hour. I mean, everybody was
And it was
out.
cold that day.
It was chilly. We did wait outside for an hour, but like players came out and said hi to everybody waiting in line. Like I got a picture with Adley. DL Hall gave me a free beer as he was walking out. I mean,
it doesn't get much better than that.
It was awesome. Yeah, it made the hour wait worth it.
And did it get you excited for the season? Did it feel like it pumped you up and you're like, I'm ready for baseball now?
Yeah, I mean, after that day, the whole, like, I was just amped to get going. I wanted to be in the ballpark, and and then we got in, and it was the same thing. It was a party, like, around the Orioles. I mean, they were serving beers, the Oriole bird, yeah.
You have to tell your bird story. You have to tell your Oriole bird bathroom story. You just have to.
So I'm waiting there, and I hope this doesn't get the Oriole bird in trouble. So I'm waiting there, and I'm like, the Oriole bird's going to the employee bathroom, right? And I'm like, Oriole bird, man, I'm about to piss myself. You got, and then he looked at me and was like, whoa, and he's tweeting the whole time. It's the Oriole bird, and he like signals to come with me, and there was the bathroom right there. He let me use the bathroom there. I was like, thanks, Oriole bird, you're the best. And then 5 seconds later, Brandon Hyde walks by. It's like, hey, coach.
See, that is a good mascot right there.
Yeah,
thinking
that's
about
why he's in the Hall of Fame.
His fans' comfort level and saying, you gotta go. I'm gonna get you where you gotta go. Okay, that is top-notch mascot service from the Oriole bird right there.
No, it was good stuff. And like you see all the figures like from Orioles Twitter, they were all out there, and it's like people that you only see through a screen, like you got to see them in person. Yeah,
Orioles Twitter is a great community. So
yeah, I've always been sort of like an outsider looking into it.
Not anymore. You're in it now.
There you go.
Next thing we have on our list as far as off season is something that's going on right now. Something that I really, for the first time, sat down and watched last night for since 2017, the World Baseball Classic. And I tell you what, I was jumping out of my seat last night, watching Anthony Santander put on a clinic against the Dominican Republic, where first at bat he hits a second decker home run. He gets a triple later in the game. And he has a diving catch. And what did he do today, Jack?
I mean, like I said, I wish that one day I will be able to emulate some of Venezuela's energy. I mean, he hit another 3-run tank tonight, and it's just the whole bench goes crazy. And he's actually up right now.
You got him
out of the game. So let's see if
I don't have enough screens.
We'll see if we can have Anthony Santander.
We'll have a live reaction to a Santander moment, maybe. Do you think with Anthony Santander, who a lot of people last year wanted to trade him, they were ready to trade him for prospects or something like that. He's sitting here in a competitive environment, going up against teams like the Dominican Republic. And he's raking. I mean, he's only in his second game of the Classic, but he's raking right now. Yeah. Do you think this puts him on a pedestal that, we're thinking this is the slugger of the team? This guy is 33 home runs last year. Are we looking at more? Is he going to put the team on his back? What do you think?
I think that this can only help him playing in these type games as he pops out in foul territory to the first baseman. But I think he already is one of the leaders of this team. And I think that he's going to continue that along with, Adley and whoever steps up. I think an outfield with him, Stowers, and Mullins, it's a pretty good outfield, man.
And you're rotating him in and out of the DH role where you get other guys in there. Austin Hayes said today that he was watching him last night and was jumping up and down, going crazy every time he did something.
I mean, how could you not, man?
Oh yeah, it was so much fun. Of course, We had another impressive performance today on Team Israel, where the Dean was in. The Dean had office hours. Dean Kremer, what was it? 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs.
Yeah, 3 strikeouts.
Hey, I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, we'll see how he does against. I think, who are they playing? We'll see. They're playing a much better team than Nicaragua tonight at 11. So we'll see how he does in his next outing in the WBC. I do expect Israel to get out of that pool. So hopefully he can play in some more high leverage games too. But he looked really good, man. He got up to 94 with a lot of movement on his 2-seam.
You know what I would love? This is my ultimate. I want to see this. I want to see him pitch against the Dominican Republic and specifically Manny Machado. Because I want to see if he strikes out Manny Machado, we won the trade.
Yeah, I mean,
if that happens, we won the trade. Oh, Manny Machado might have signed 11 years with San Diego. I don't care. We win the trade if Dean Kremer strikes out Manny Machado in the World Baseball Classic.
Where's Yusniel Diaz?
Yeah, well, let's not talk about that.
He was the big piece of that trade.
He was the one that everyone was going like, oh wow, they're trading him away.
Yeah, dude. Israel plays Puerto Rico tomorrow at 7.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
So Kramer's not going to pitch, obviously, but
yeah. Well, of course, there's also Cedric Mullins is on Team USA. We have yet to see him play. With Mike Trout being ahead of him, very unlikely we see him much. I think we see him probably pinch run a couple times. But I don't see him. He's happy to be there, as you told me before the pod.
Yeah, I mean, that Mike Trout guy, he's okay.
Hey, he went 0 for 4 last night against Orioles legend Vance Worley and low-level Delmarva single A pitcher Ryan Long. I'm just saying, give Cedric a chance. He can't go worse than 0 for 4.
Yeah, but, as much as I want to back you up here, Mike Trout.
I mean, yeah. Well, here's my thing. Cedric Mullins can also play other places than center field. He can play right or left field. I mean, Mookie Betts, okay, yeah.
Mookie Betts and Kyle Tucker are also pretty they're pretty good too, I guess.
Listen. Are any of them Cedric the Entertainer, though? The only 30 for 30 in Orioles history. I'm just saying. But no, I think he's definitely, if we see him at all, which I'm sure we'll see him once or twice, it's going to be because he pinch runs for someone.
He'll get in. I think he'll get one at bat.
Yeah.
That's my take there. The line's at 0.5 on at bats.
All right. Well, now that we're caught up on the World Baseball Classic, also, are you watching tonight? What is it, 10 o'clock? USA playing?
I saw a tweet from Ken Rosenthal said it's at 9.
9? Well, it might be 9 local time. What's the time difference?
Eastern. But yes, I will be watching regardless of what time the game is.
All right. Well, it should be a better game than against Britain because they're playing Mexico, who I'm very disappointed did not pick up Ramon Arias. I'm throwing it out there.
That's weird.
I thought it was weird and not because it's not a situation like Bautista with the Dominican Republic and Tate with the USA where they were hurt, or Vespi with Italy where he was hurt. It's because he just didn't make the team. I was very surprised by that. But regardless, Team USA, go out and get some revenge for my boy Ramon Arias.
Yeah.
Well, we got a few minutes left here, and we want to take some time to talk about some changes that are happening both locally and also in the major leagues. So looking locally, we got 3 big changes that are coming to Camden Yards this year. First one is that we have a new concessionaire. So it was Delaware North for a long time, and now it's Levy Restaurants, who does, I believe, Dodgers games. I think they do all the Chicago sports too, something like that. How do you feel about it, Jack?
Hey man, as long as I'm not getting chicken tenders that have been sitting out for an hour, I'm all right.
I personally, I'm slightly excited for it, but also hesitantly so, because I feel like in the past couple years, the quality of food at games has been kind of going down.
Yeah,
So
dude.
my hope is that this is better.
Back in the day, did you ever get that? It was behind center field. They
Or
had
are
a
you gonna say
chicken.
the crab mac and cheese dog?
Oh no, dude! They had this chicken tender sandwich. It came
Oh, I know
with
exactly what you're
the
talking
crab
about.
dip on it, dude. And it came with
Yes.
fries, and they put crab dip on the fry, dude.
Oh, that was awesome.
My heart broke a little bit when they got rid of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you can find the crab mac and cheese dog still. You just have to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
But so I'm hesitantly excited. I think the concessions can get better. That was the one kind of when you looked at the ballpark ratings for Camden Yards, the one thing that was hitting them
yeah,
bad was the the food rating.
yeah. So if they do the Chicago sports, I mean, I was at Wrigley Field for that series, and I thought it was their food was very good. So if that's the case, then hey, I'm pumped.
All right, we're gonna get some Yelp reviews on
Yeah,
Orioles food come opening day. All right, so be ready for that. Change number 2 at Camden Yards, the Baltimore Sun, the Sun sign was removed from above the big screen. How you feeling, Jack? Do you mourn the loss?
yeah. I mean, it's nostalgic, but
I mean, my thing is it that was that like you said nostalgic, but that was the whole thing right there where you had the H would light up if it was a hit, the E would light up if it was an error. That was always kind of a nice little niche thing to point out to
yeah.
people that had never been to Camden Yards before. It was
Honestly,
iconic.
I didn't know
That's
that.
my thing. It was iconic. And now it's gone and it doesn't sound like they have plans to replace it right now. They're weighing their options. Um
Yeah, I guess we'll see. April 6th.
I think they're weighing their options because supposedly, I don't know if you saw last week, they've been quietly putting the naming rights for Camden Yards out there. I think if they get like Old Bay to come in and sponsor the stadium, you're going to get an Old Bay sign there. That's probably the one sponsor for that I would approve of. If we
I
get like
think.
Coca-Cola Stadium or something, I'm going to be really annoyed.
Look, you know how much money those sponsorships cost, man.
It's like what? They estimated like $8 million a year.
Oh, I think it's more than that.
That's the estimates I saw, and that to be fair, that's Twitter. I got no
Yeah,
actual data to back that up, but those were the estimates I was reading. Was saying it was like $8 million a year. It wasn't a lot.
to put your name on a stadium, man. I feel like it's got to be. It's got to be more than 8 million a year.
All right, it's possible.
I don't know. I
Uh,
don't know.
what do you got? So our third change is the game times.
I
So
think you ought to speak on this one. This one really doesn't matter to me.
this one fires me up. So the game times are on weekdays before Memorial Day and after Labor Day. The game times will be 6:35 instead of 7:05. Now, a lot of people are really excited about this. The thought process is that that it will get more families out to the ballpark because the games will end earlier and it's a little bit quicker turnaround from getting kids home from school and things like that. Personally, and this is a personal problem, so don't come at me saying like, "Oh, it's a really good idea. How could you be against this?" Personally, I hate this because when I get off work at 6 o'clock, technically I get off work at 6:15, and then I have to drive home. I have to change. I have to, then walk to the stadium for my home because I don't park at the stadium. I park at my house and walk. That means I'm not getting to the stadium till like 7:15, uh, at the earliest, and that means I've missed at that point 2 innings of baseball at least. And the way it's going, maybe I missed
Yeah.
three innings of baseball. So that drives me crazy that it's not helping out those of us who have a later work day.
Yeah. Hey, I definitely hear that, and that stinks. But I guess getting people to the ballpark, I have an early bedtime. Just gonna say it. I'm putting it out there. I got an early bedtime. If I can get home from a game at like 9:30. I'm all for it. But yeah, there's gonna be pros and cons to any change that comes through. I mean, like we'll talk about in a second. There's gonna be pros and cons to like pitch clock, banning the shifts. It's just the way that baseball's headed, I guess. And
Yeah.
like it's not a new thing. Like other teams are doing this as well. But it'll get some time to get used to it.
All right. Well, let's close out here with the big changes that are coming, the stuff that's coming to all the major leagues. First rule change, probably the least consequential, bigger bases. We're going to 18-inch bases. How do you feel, Jack? You were a player, you played on bases.
Yeah.
They say it's better for injuries, keeping injuries off the field. What do you think?
As a first baseman, there's always the risk of getting spiked, right? Now there's just more room to kind of put that, injury rate of getting spiked. It's not that high to begin with, but now it's going to be even lower.
Okay.
I think that there's like one of the small like technical changes is going to be base runners sliding into the bases. You're always taught to slide to one side, and now when that one side's a little bigger, I don't know if there's like some percentages on.
Well, I
how
know
that'll
they're saying for base stealing, the projection is it's going to make a lot more people steal base because they have 3 inches less or whatever it is to reach for when they're diving for second base. So bag steals, that should be the stat to look at this year about the bigger bases. Were there more successful steals?
Yeah, that and the addition of pitch clock, which I feel like this is a good enough segue as any.
Oh yeah.
Pitch clock is I experienced this in college and then watching it through my different minor league games over the years. When there's nobody on base, pitchers and hitters, or pitchers will get a 15-second timer to basically throw the pitch. And that is the same with hitters as well. When there's people on base, it'll be a 20-second timer. I love it. I love the pitch clock. I think that 2.5-hour games are much more approachable than like you saw today in Great Britain versus Canada, a 4-hour game that didn't even make 9 innings. There's no run rule in the major league. So if that happened in Major League Baseball with no pitch clock, it's a 5.5-hour game. I mean, I love baseball and I'd love to be at the ballpark for as long as possible. So it's pretty indifferent to me.
But I'm indifferent with the pitch clock, but I kind of lean towards like not liking it, and I think I'll get used to it at some point. I'll say when I was at spring training, which was my first experience really watching with a pitch clock, it was jarring at first, where it just felt like the game was just boom, 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 boom. It was going fast.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot more balks because of it. It gets a little frustrating when you see someone like you have in a 3-2 count suddenly get walked because the pitcher wasn't set in time.
Yeah.
It's very jarring, very hard to get used to if you're not used to that. I feel like I think my thing with it too is I like to go to baseball games because it's an experience. And when I'm paying for a baseball game, I'm expecting a 3-hour experience. Well, now I need to be expecting a 2-hour and 15-minute experience.
And like you said, with like the time of games being moved up, that game's going to be done by 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess that's good for the people, like you said, early bedtime, whatever. I get that that's good. For me, I'm like, well, part of the experience is I want to be, I don't want to be felt like I'm being rushed to sit down and enjoy a game, I think it is something I will get used to and kind of not think about it as much. I think I wish they had extended the pitch clock a little bit. I think 15 seconds is too short a time. I wish it would have been 20 seconds and 25 if a guy's on base.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a lot easier of a transition than 15 because 15 just feels really, really fast as a fan. I don't know what it was for you in college. Was it 15?
Yeah, it was 15 and 20.
Does it feel super fast, super rushed as a player?
And And in college, it's different, I think, because there's a ton of walks. There's more errors, so the game's gonna take longer regardless. But you get out there and you are rushed in the box, and you're taught growing up like don't let the pitcher rush you, but you don't really have a choice. And I think you're gonna see that in a lot of the stats of different guys, pitchers who typically work fast, and like Max Scherzer, you saw videos of it, like him essentially quick pitching guys, and it was pretty effective outside of that one start.
Well, it seemed like he's kind of been testing the throngs of the clock, because one game he was quick pitching guys, and then I saw highlights of another game where he was taking every single second of that pitch clock before he pitched. So someone as veteran as Max Scherzer seems like he's just like, well, how can I use this to my advantage? And he's going to test everything out.
Yeah, and then another thing, building off of the bases, you get one opportunity per at bat as a batter to call time.
Right.
So, the pitcher is going to know that. You can't call time. He's going to pitch as fast as he can. Same thing with pitchers throwing over to runners. I think you get 2 per at bat.
Yeah, I think it's 2. And I think you get a third, but if you don't get him on the third, they get the base.
Gotcha. Okay. But, a pitcher uses that second pickoff attempt, the runner's going to go.
Yeah.
I think you look at guys like Mullins, and Mateo. Oh my God, Mateo,
Mateo's going to be running circles around the bases.
Yeah, who has huge stolen base numbers. These guys are going to increase, if I had to guess, like 5 or 10 stolen bases.
Well, that's the thing I do like about the pitch clock, is it is supposed to increase offense in the sense that stolen bases should happen more. And of course, with the Orioles coming off of having 2 players that just went 1 and 2 in the American League in stolen bases, I mean, I love that. That's one thing. I know Mateo's kind of controversial. People feel like, well, Gunner's a better shortstop, don't start Mateo. I personally love the lineups where Mateo's 9th and Mullins is 1st, because then you get that speed combo back to back. If Mateo gets on base, all chaos happens on the bases, and I think this only increases that. So in that sense, I really, really like it for the benefit of the Orioles.
Yeah, I think the only thing like about anything that you just said is like Mateo can't steal first base. So
right, that's the toughest thing, is he's going to have to improve his hitting to keep up with that.
Yeah.
And then finally, the shift ban. Jack, how do you feel about banning the shift? Well, here's a question first. When you played in college, was the shift banned or was it still used?
It just, I mean, you really, in D3 baseball, right? The level of scouting isn't that high. Like, you're not going to get pull tendencies that much. I think we probably had one guy get shifted, and it was just the outfielders. Like, center was probably playing like right center. It's nothing insane. So I really didn't experience that as a player, but I like the banning of the shift. I mean, you see guys and teams that have figured out how to beat the rules of the shift ban and throw outfielders all over the place. But basically, the defense has to have a minimum of 4 players on the infield dirt and at least 2 infielders of those 4 completely on one side of second base.
I was really happy because I know what they were experimenting with, I think in the minors, was having lines on either side of second base showing like where you can be. I'm really happy they didn't put those into the major league because it just looked really ugly. So I'm glad they didn't do that. I think personally, I'm happy. I'm going to be really happy with the shift ban while the Orioles are hitting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hate it while the Orioles are on defense.
Yeah.
I think the shift probably got a lot of Orioles pitching to over succeed last year. There's a lot of times that guys that probably were in too much of a jam for their skill level to get out of got out of it because of the shift. But then you have guys like, I mean, Adley's analytics say that he should be absolutely raking. Yeah. And it's very frustrating when you watch him hit, 112 mile per hour line drive that goes right into a fielder's hands because he was placed in exactly the right spot. I think for the frustration fact of having to watch guys hit a ball that should be a hit, not get a hit, and now it's like, oh, okay, no, that guy absolutely crushed that ball. It's gonna land. Is gonna be a lot less frustration as a fan.
Yeah, I think you say Adley, and that's like the first player on the Orioles who comes to mind when thinking
Ryan
about
Mountcastle
how...
too. I think Mountcastle's another guy they said is going to be a extreme benefit to the shift man.
Yeah. I mean, Adley Rutschman, he pulls the ball 43.8% of the time, and every time he was up, I mean, they had 4 outfielders on. They had 4 guys on the right side of the field. So I mean, you think about how many of those like hard hit line drives he had above the second baseman's head that were caught by the third baseman playing shallow right field. Yeah, so I mean,
now how many of those are going to be hard singles or doubles? Even right. You know, it's going to be great for him. Again, I'm going to love it when the Orioles are batting. I'm going to hate it when the Orioles are pitching.
Yeah,
but it's another thing that we'll get used to. Baseball existed before the shift. Baseball will exist after the shift.
It did. I don't know.
Well,
I just think that he's going to benefit a ton from it.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing is I think with Adley is going to just build upon what is already a pretty successful start to his career. And that's something that all Orioles fans should be excited about.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you post a 130 WRC plus in your rookie year, I mean, excuse me, 123.
Oh, okay.
No, it is 130.
Yeah, watch it there. Don't oversell.
130.
Well, that's everything we have online for tonight. We went a little long, but I think for the first episode, we're recapping 6 months of stuff that's happened. I think that's okay. Jack, you got the first one under your belt. How do you feel?
Good, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's going to be a great season. I'm excited for this. I'm glad that you've joined the pod. I'm glad we have these changes. That's one thing I didn't even mention. We're streaming live right now. We have people watching us and reacting and commenting. We are streaming live on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook right now. The future is now, Jack. So we are full-blown liftoff. Great start to the season. And with that, we'll see you next week.
Make sure to use code Eupod Street at birdlandsports.com. Get your merch, people.
Get your merch. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
You've been listening to Eupod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. Eupod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing Eupod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/Eupod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code Eupod Street. Follow us on Twitter at Eupod Street and at JackBain20. Eupod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.